Welcome back to GH Spoilers channel. Today we will learn about the issue that has shaken Port Charles to its core, the apparent death and secret survival of Sonny Corinthos. What began as a routine announcement of a successful heart surgery has morphed into a masterstroke of deception, a citywide mourning, and the silent calculation of revenge by the man they all believed gone forever. The day started with cautious optimism. News had spread among Sonny's inner circle that the once feared mob boss, whose heart had been teetering on the brink of collapse, had made it through the operating room alive. Carly Corinthos, Sonny's ex-wife and lifelong confidant, paced the waiting area outside the surgical suite, her face pale under the fluorescent lights, her hands trembling as she clutched a single rose. She had returned to General Hospital at dawn, turning away offers of coffee and Julie-style support from well-wishers. This moment was hers alone, a test of faith in a man who had built his empire on calculations of power and consequence. Behind the curtained doors, Dr. Isaiah, the cardiologist entrusted with the most critical operation of Sonny's life, had performed with meticulous skill. Every incision, every stitch, had been executed with the precision of a surgeon who understood that failure would mean not only the end of a legendary life but also catastrophic upheaval in Port Charles's underworld. For hours, monitors charted Sonny's vital signs, the slow, rhythmic thump of his heart, the hiss of the ventilator, the steady drip of 4 fluids. By mid-morning, it was clear to the medical team that Sonny's heart had responded well. His ejection fraction had improved, blood flow through the repaired valves was steady, and no signs of infection or internal bleeding threatened his recovery. A hushed cheer rippled through the staff. Sonny Corinthos, they believed, would live. But behind the professional accolades lay a darker pact. Unbeknownst to Carly and the rest of the Corinthos family, Sonny had negotiated a final clause with Dr. Isaiah before the operation began. In an exchange orchestrated through third-party intermediaries, Sonny had offered the doctor a 6-figure sum enough to change any man's life forever in exchange for one thing, the appearance of death. The agreement was simple and chilling. Once the surgery hall lights dimmed, the doctor would administer a carefully calibrated dose of medication that would mimic the onset of fatal complications. Then, in the presence of hospital administrators and on-call nursing staff, Dr. Isaiah would declare Sonny dead. CVS, LEDs and medical jargon would cloak the deceit in professional veneer, and Port Charles would mourn. Meanwhile, Sonny, whisked away under a sheet, would slip into hiding to orchestrate the downfall of every enemy who had ever dared to cross him. At precisely 1:17 p.m. Dr. Isaiah emerged from the OR, his crisp white coat buttoned, his face schooled into a solemn expression. Carly, who had barely moved from the spot near the nurse's station, leapt forward, her voice echoing with relief. Is he okay?" she whispered, eyes glistening. The doctor lowered his head, his voice measured. "I'm so sorry, Carly. We did everything we could, but we lost him on the table." In that moment, the world tipped on its axis. Carly's knees buckled, she collapsed to the floor in a heap of rushing skirts and cascading tears. Nurses rushed to her side, offering pillows and soft blankets, while nearby doctors slapped closed-mouthed hands over stunned mouths. Word spread like wildfire. Sonny Corinthos was dead. Within hours, Port Charles was draped in black. Trains of mourners lined the corridors of General Hospital, whispered condolences passed from lips coated with disbelief. Maurice, Sonny's longtime enforcer and friend, arrived in a dark suit, his sunglasses reflecting the sterile tiles as he brushed past security. Michael Corinthos Jr. wept openly as he signed the death certificate. Epiphany House erupted into gloom as reports circulated that even Valentine Cassadine had offered a tribute to the man who had once protected him from the deepest darkness. Television anchors struggled to maintain composure as they chronicled the life of a man whose cruel calculations had once terrified the city, yet whose fierce loyalty had saved countless lives. Carly, now supported by attorney Diane Miller, sat in a private waiting room, her face buried in tissues, her sobs a raw soundtrack to the grief that enveloped everyone who had known Sonny as both protector and monster. The funeral was set for the following afternoon at Rolling Meadows Cemetery, under leaden skies that threatened rain. Rows of black chairs faced a raised platform draped in white lilies and roses. A massive portrait of Sonny in his signature white button-down stood sentry beside the casket, its glass face catching the muted light. A gospel choir rehearsed hymns in hushed tones, the organist counted measures on trembling fingers. Friends, family, and even rivals donned dark attire as Port Charles prepared to bid farewell to its most formidable figure. And there, among the mourners, Sonny Corinthos stood unobserved. Underneath a long black coat and a low-brimmed hat, he watched the ceremony unfold, his eyes fixed on his own casket. No tear escaped his gaze, only the steady calculation of a man reaffirming his greatest stratagem. As the priest intoned prayers of farewell, Sonny allowed himself a small, satisfied smile. The city wept for its savior, and in their grief, their guards were down. Inside the cathedral quiet crowd, Detective Dante Falconeri exchanged somber nods with Lulu Spencer, even Dr. Portia Robinson dabbed at her eyes. But no one noticed the tall figure lingering behind the trees, head bowed in apparent sorrow. The funeral proceeded. Michael spoke of his father's unwavering love. Carly delivered a eulogy that sent the crowd to its feet in celebration of a life that had been both tragic and heroic. A single shot rang out as the minister invited those assembled to place a rose atop the casket. The gun was a salute, a final tribute fired by Spinelli with a blank round and inside homage to a man who had made death his art. As the last flowers fell, Sonny slipped away through a side path known only to his closest allies. Waiting by a sleek black sedan was Dr. Isaiah, his hair now streaked with contrived silver, his hands trembling as he counted the bills Sonny handed him. There was a moment of silent acknowledgement, no words were needed. Sonny knew the doctor now had his freedom, Isaiah knew the price had been paid in blood. In the days that followed, Port Charles began its slow return to routine. Walls once painted with grief were repainted with normalcy. Shop windows displayed fresh merchandise. Carly locked herself in Devonshire Manor, drinking strong coffee by day and nursing whiskey at night, her exhaustion tempered by the ferocious need to learn the truth. She mourned the man she believed dead, recording nightmares in her personal journal, drafting letters she never intended to send. Meanwhile, whispers emerged. A man matching Sonny's description had been seen at the docks, purchasing a one-way ticket on a freighter bound for the Caribbean. Security cameras outside the funeral home showed a tall figure stepping from a black sedan before dawn, coat trailing in the wind. But authorities chalked it up to grief-stricken hallucinations. Inside the hidden sanctuary of an abandoned boathouse on the river's edge, Sonny began to rebuild his empire in shadows. Maurice stood at his side, arms crossed, listening to reports of rival movements. Heather Weber's face flickered on the cracked tablet screen. She had learned of Sonny's death but not yet made contact. From the darkness, conversations surfaced. Valentine Cassadine had declared a truce in honor of the funeral. Franco Baldwin had called for a memorial art exhibit. Every ally and enemy paused, believing Sonny gone, allowing seeds of vulnerability to germinate. Sonny knew precisely which rivals would pounce and which would pay respects. With each passing dawn, his plan took shape. He would strike first at the head of the Jenkins crime family, whose leader had been plotting a takeover. Next, he would dismantle the drug operation led by Victor Cassadine. He would reveal the mole within the Port Charles Police Department who had leaked his surgical schedule. And finally, he would return to Carly's side, not as the broken man she believed dead, but as the architect of a new order in Port Charles, one that would honor the values he held secret. Protection, loyalty, and justice at any cost. As the city lit candles in windows and recited prayers for Sonny's soul, GH Spoilers invites you to stay tuned to the aftermath of this grand illusion. Will Sonny's enemies learn of his ruse before it is too late? Will Carly discover that the man she mourned with all her heart is alive and more dangerous than ever? And when Sonny finally steps back into the light, will Port Charles be ready to worship him again, or will they fear the reckoning he brings? In Port Charles, no secret remains hidden, no death is final, and the next heartbeat could be the one that changes everything. Next, we will immerse ourselves in the heart-wrenching drama surrounding Willow Corinthos, whose once firm grip under Drew Kane's manipulative influence is beginning to unravel in spectacular fashion. The intricate web of deception and emotional turmoil that has ensnared Willow and her estranged husband, Michael Corinthos, is finally showing cracks, as she makes a bold decision to confront her past head-on. With unexpected revelations, suppressed emotions bubbling to the surface, and the stakes higher than ever for their fractured family, Willow's journey promises to be a rollercoaster of heartbreak and hope. What does this mean for her relationship with Michael, her dynamic with Drew, and the future of their children? Let's dive into the evolving saga of love, regret, and reconnection in the unpredictable world of Port Charles, unpacking every emotional twist and turn that could reshape their lives forever. For months, Drew Kane has operated under the illusion that he held complete sway over Willow Corinthos, strategically distancing her from Michael with a chilling precision that bordered on obsession. His calculated moves seemed foolproof. Physically separating her from her husband during Michael's recovery from devastating injuries sustained in a firebombing at Sonny Corinthos' penthouse, and subtly planting seeds of doubt about their marriage. Picture Drew in his sleek office at Aurora Media, smugly reviewing his plans while sipping coffee, convinced that Willow's gentle and often pliable nature would lead her straight to a divorce without so much as a whisper of resistance. He envisioned a future where Michael was a mere memory, erased from Willow's heart without the messy necessity of a real conversation. But the tides have turned dramatically. Willow, spurred by a candid nudge from Jason Morgan during a poignant encounter at the Courtemain estate, has awakened to the absurdity of dissolving a marriage without dialogue. Imagine her standing by the window of her home, staring at the distant horizon, Jason's words echoing in her mind, "You owe it to yourself, and to Michael, to talk face to face." This moment of clarity has ignited a spark of defiance in Willow, shattering Drew's carefully constructed narrative and setting the stage for a confrontation that could alter everything. The notion of ending a marriage as significant as Willow and Michael's without a single heartfelt discussion is nothing short of bewildering, especially given the deep bond they shared before Drew's interference cast a shadow over their love. Until recently, their relationship was a cornerstone of stability in Port Charles, marked by tender moments of laughter over breakfast with their children and shared dreams of a brighter tomorrow. Visualize the two of them in happier times, strolling through the park with their kids giggling between them, a picture of unity that seemed unbreakable. Yet, Drew's insidious influence, paired with the catastrophic aftermath of the firebombing that left Michael severely burned and recuperating in a specialized clinic in Germany, created a rift that appeared insurmountable. Willow, vulnerable and swayed by Drew's persuasive charm, followed his misguided counsel for far too long, battling not just Michael's absence but also the judgmental whispers of friends and family who questioned her choices. Now, standing at the precipice of a life-altering decision, she recognizes the fundamental error in allowing silence to dictate the fate of their family. Her resolve to travel to Germany alone, to look into Michael's eyes and speak as partners and parents, marks a pivotal shift, a reclaiming of her agency that Drew never anticipated. Picture her packing a small suitcase, her hands trembling not with fear but with determination, as she prepares to bridge the ocean-wide gap between them. When Willow first unveiled her intention to visit Michael, Drew's reaction was a masterclass in desperation masked as charm, proposing they turn the trip into a romantic getaway for two. Imagine him leaning casually against her kitchen counter, a forced smile playing on his lips as he suggests, "Why not make it a little adventure for us, Willow? A chance to unwind." But Willow, her gaze steady and voice firm, swiftly dismantled his ploy, insisting this journey is hers alone, a sacred mission to reconnect with her husband without interference. This rejection is Drew's worst nightmare unfolding in real time, the thought of Willow and Michael sharing the same space, unfiltered by his manipulations, sends ripples of panic through him. According to Carly Spencer, who has watched this drama unfold with a protective maternal eye, Michael's heart still beats for Willow, carrying a love that time and tragedy couldn't extinguish. And as Willow boards her flight, suitcase in hand, her own unresolved feelings begin to stir, memories of Michael's quiet strength and unwavering support flooding back during the long, reflective hours over the Atlantic. Upon seeing him in the sterile, softly lit room of the German burn clinic, surrounded by medical equipment yet still radiating the warmth she once knew so well, Willow was struck by a tidal wave of realizations. Every misstep of the past months, from succumbing to Drew's whispers to allowing distance to fester, becomes painfully clear, each one a brick in the wall she now longs to tear down. The reunion in Germany is a turning point, laden with raw emotion and the weight of unspoken truths, as Willow and Michael finally lay bare their hearts after months of agonizing separation. Picture the scene: Willow hesitating at the doorway of Michael's room, her breath catching as she sees the scars, both physical and emotional, that mark him, yet also the familiar spark in his eyes that speaks of enduring love. They sit together, hands tentatively reaching across the space, and begin to unravel the chaos that tore them apart. Willow acknowledges the colossal mistake of letting communication lapse, her voice breaking as she admits how lost she felt without his steady presence. Michael, though weakened by his injuries, responds with a quiet intensity, confessing he never stopped hoping she'd return to him. In this sacred moment, divorce ceases to be an option. Instead, they commit to rebuilding what was broken, not just for themselves but for their children, who deserve a united family. They discuss practical steps, counseling sessions via video calls while Michael recovers, and planning for Willow to bring the kids for a visit once he's stronger, each word a stitch in the fabric of their healing marriage. Willow promises to prioritize their bond, to fight for it with every ounce of her being, as the weight of her choices with Drew begins to lift. Returning to Port Charles, Willow carries a transformed perspective, her heart and mind irrevocably altered by the reunion with Michael. The woman who left under Drew's shadow is not the one who steps off the plane, her posture straighter, her eyes brighter with purpose. Imagine her walking through the airport, the hum of travelers around her fading as she mentally prepares to confront Drew with a clarity she hasn't felt in months. Their dynamic, once tinged with his subtle control, now feels suffocating, a stark contrast to the honest vulnerability she rediscovered with Michael. She knows the conversation with Drew will be fraught, his charm might turn to frustration, perhaps even anger, as he senses his influence slipping through his fingers like sand. Visualize their tense meeting in a quiet corner of Kelly's diner, Drew's forced smile faltering as Willow calmly but firmly asserts that her future lies with Michael and their family, not in the illusions he crafted. The road ahead won't be easy. Rebuilding trust with Michael while navigating Drew's potential backlash will test her resolve. Yet, Willow's renewed commitment to her marriage shines as a beacon, a promise to her children that love can endure even the fiercest storms. As we ponder the next chapters of this gripping storyline, the possibilities are as endless as they are dramatic. Will Willow and Michael fully reconcile, their love emerging stronger from the ashes of misunderstanding and tragedy? Or could Drew, unwilling to relinquish his hold, concoct new schemes to drive a wedge between them, perhaps exploiting vulnerabilities in their still fragile reunion? Envision the potential for heartfelt family moments. Willow and Michael laughing with their children during a picnic at the park, a scene of normalcy they fought to reclaim, or the darker alternative of Drew plotting in the shadows, his whispered phone calls hinting at a dangerous countermove. Port Charles is no stranger to love stories laced with betrayal and redemption, and this tale of Willow's awakening is poised to captivate us further. What do you think lies ahead for this embattled couple? Can they mend what's been broken, or will external forces tear them apart once more? Share your thoughts and predictions in the comments below, and let's keep the conversation buzzing. Until our next spoiler-filled update, stay tuned for every twist and turn on General Hospital that keeps our hearts racing.